line and how to fix them. This webinar is sponsored by Intuit Academy, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us. My name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA and the owner of Long for Success. I'm the author of several different books. Those are all available on Amazon if you want to check them out. I'm co-host of the award-winning Ultimate Accounting Decon, a 2-day virtual conference for accountants and bookkeepers. I'd love to have you join us for that this year. It's going to be another great year. The LinkedIn group is now up to about 64,000 members. That is an awesome resource when you have additional questions after this webinar or in the future. I'd encourage you to join that. I'm also thrilled to say that, I've been a speaker for Intuit since the year 2007, and now I'm thrilled to say that I'm actually an international speaker. Not only have I gone to cities all across the U.S., but I've also been able to go across Canada, and I've got to go to Australia and London teaching other accountants and bookkeepers about QuickBooks Online. So I'm thrilled to have you guys joining me today as we talk about some of the common mistakes with QuickBooks Online. You can get CPE credit for this webinar if you need continuing education credit, whether you're a CPA or a CPB or a CB or you're certified and you need CPE credit. You need to listen for the keyword that's going to be coming up during the webinar. That keyword, you'll need to answer a question at the end of the webinar. You need to stay on for the whole webinar so you can answer that question at the end. So at the end of the webinar, you'll have a poll question like we just had, and you'll need to answer that question with the right keyword. I will say the keyword several times, but I can't repeat it once we move past it, so you need to be paying attention. You'll get your CPE certificate emailed to you within a couple of weeks, and keep that for your records. What we're going to be talking about today is we are going to be talking about some of the best practices for cleaning up mistakes. Our clients make mistakes. We make mistakes. Well, it's important to understand how to go in and clean those things up. So we'll talk about how to fix some of the common mistakes. Now, we've only got an hour, so I tried to focus on the most common mistakes, not the most unusual things that you won't see very often, but the most common mistakes. And then also identify resources for additional help. When you have additional questions, where can you go? You can download these materials. Dawn is helping me by giving you a bit.ly link because I didn't get them finished on time. So she's got a link where you can go get them from Dropbox and download those, and then later they will be posted at intuitacademy.com/materials is where you can get that. And yes, this is being recorded and it will be posted as well. Now, one of the first things I want to make sure that we all understand is today I'm talking about the new QuickBooks Online. You know it's the new QuickBooks Online by this left navigation bar. The blue navigation bar on the left-hand side is the new QBO. If you don't have menu bar going across the top and you don't see this, you're using the old QBO. And everybody will be converted to the new QBO within the next couple of months. And I can tell you this, I absolutely love the new QBO, especially now with the keyboard shortcuts and things like that. The more I use it, the more I really, really like it. So that's what we are talking about today is the new QBO. Now, you'll notice that when I'm in here, you're going to see what I call my OneClick Icon Bar here, my one-click trick. I tell you and explain to you how you can do this for yourself in this video here on YouTube. So I would encourage you to check out these YouTube videos if you're not familiar with the new QBO, or if you have clients that are new to it, feel free to share these videos with them. But check out that navigating tips to learn about the keyboard shortcuts and that one-click icon bar, because I don't have time to show you how to set that up today. You can go check that up and learn how to set that up yourself. Now, a few key things when we get started working with QBO that we need to understand is, with the desktop version of QuickBooks, we had some file issues, and we might have data integrity issues, and we knew how to rebuild the data file, or we knew about some of those things. Well, now that we're working in the cloud, it's different. We need to learn about some browser issues because we're logging into QBO from a browser. One of the most important things that you need to know, and you need to communicate with your clients, do not use Internet Explorer, especially with IE 11. There are just some things that plain do not work. They don't work right. They don't look right. They don't function the way they're supposed to. So don't use Internet Explorer. So that's the first thing. If somebody calls you and says it's not working, are you using IE? Use Chrome instead. And I tell you why I recommend Chrome in that navigating tips video. You can set up multiple users, and that's kind of important. And you can only do that with Chrome. You can't do it in Firefox. Now, Firefox does work better than IE. But again, I don't recommend IE. Now, one of the first things you ask the client or yourself when you're working with something that's not working right, are you using IE? Switch to a different browser, preferably Chrome. Then the other thing, when something just doesn't look right, you can't explain it, it's not updating, it's just not working the way it's supposed to, a lot of the time, CCC, clear the cache and cookies. Sign out of QBO or QBOA, if you're the accountant using QBOA, sign out, clear the cache and cookies from the beginning of time, and then sign back in. And a lot of times that will fix things for you. That's one reason why I recommend using Chrome, so you can use a separate user. So when you clear your cache and cookies, it doesn't affect your other browsing. So that a lot of times will fix things right off the bat, is to clear your cache and cookies. So the 3 C's there, sign out, clear the cache and cookies, and try again. And you'd be surprised. A lot of times that will fix it for you. I see a couple of people here saying that on IE, with IE, there are a few situations where you do use IE, but that's only if you're importing or exporting from QBO. For daily usage, do not use IE. But you're right. There are a couple of times you have to use IE when you're importing from an older version, or when you're exporting, you might have to use IE. But for daily use, use Google Chrome and clear those cache and cookies periodically, and things will work a lot better for you. So that fixes a lot of mistakes right off the bat, is to just do these couple of things here. Let's talk about, too, some best practices. If you've got a client that calls and says, you know, I've messed it all up, I need some help, prior to making any changes, go in there and print reports to PDF. We can't back up the data like we do in the desktop version, so let's make sure that we know what our reports are. So let's print reports to PDF, whether it's the general ledger or your balance sheet or your profit and loss, your aging, whatever. Print reports to PDF so that you can go back and double check some things, especially prior year numbers. That's something to take into consideration, is if you need to do that. Also, when we're working with client files, we should be signing in as an accountant's user through QBOA. We should not log in through QBO.intuit.com. We should log in through QBOA, QuickBooks Online Accountant, as an accountant's user. This gives us access to some accountant tools that I'm going to talk about, like the Reclassify Transaction, undo the bank rec, and some things like that. Also, it allows us to track our changes separate on the audit log, separate from a client, so that we can see the work that we've done compared to the work that the client's done. And that's very important, is that you're able to identify what you did. So you want to make sure you're logging in as the accountant's user. Then another thing to consider is if you've got major changes, if there is a lot of cleanup work to do, you might consider having the client observe and watch what you're doing. This helps them to understand the changes that you're making in the file, so that they kind of understand what's going on. They also know how long it takes to fix these mistakes, and they learn. They're going to learn more about QuickBooks. They're going to learn more about the bookkeeping and the accounting and things like that. So you can use the free Join Me, join.me. I've got the link there. That's free. You can set up a remote session using Join, quick and easy. It doesn't take any time at all. And then the client can watch what you're doing, so that they can see what you're doing and how you're fixing things. Then the other thing to consider is collaborative cleanup. This is a way to help keep the cost down with your work when you're working with clients. For example, you know, they may have lots of mistakes. I've got a lady who came to me, and you know, she started back in January, and she's made lots of mistakes. So what we do is we have multiple sessions, and I go through and I train her how to fix it. I'll say, okay, these are wrong. This is what you need to do. You go fix all 50 of them or 100 of them, and we'll talk again tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll talk about the next step. Now you need to go through and work on this. Now you need to work on that. So you kind of are training them and coaching them through fixing these things. That's a way to keep the cost down, because sometimes the client can't afford to pay us for everything. So this is a way you can work with the client on cleaning it up and keeping the cost down for them as well. And again, you can use Join Me when you want to log in and see what they're doing. I know with QBO, you can both share the data file, and you both can access it. But sometimes you need to talk the client through how to do things and where to click. And that's when Join Me is great, because it's free. So it's quick and easy, and I really like that. Okay, now one of the other things that you're going to notice is your clients will make mistakes on their list. they will set up the phone account, then they'll set up the telephone account, or they'll have, John Smith and John, L. Smith or something. So they'll have duplicates out there. They'll have really long lists, and they'll have duplicate things that you need to go in and clean up. So you can merge accounts with QuickBooks Online just like you can with the desktop version. You also can delete things or make them inactive. So let's go in and take a look in QBO at cleaning up a few of our lists. Okay, and this applies to our customers and our vendors or suppliers as well. I just happen to be on the chart of accounts here. But if we go look down here, one of the things you need to be aware of, if I go down to, let's say I had advertising and promotional. Let's say these two accounts, I want to merge them because really they're the same thing. We just named them wrong. Just like somebody might name it phone, somebody telephone. So you want to merge these two things. With QBO, you have something different. So I'm going to come up here and click on Edit. You have something different. You don't just have your main type of account, which is what we're used to with the desktop version. You also have this detail type. These detail types need to match. So if I tried to change this name to just advertising, which is what the other one is over here, and I click Save, you'll see it says you've got to make sure that your detail type matches. So you need to go in and look at the account that you want to keep or you want to merge it into, see what the detail type is, because you're going to need to change that. So then you can save it, and it says this may affect your information. Is that okay? And you're going to say yes, and then it says this name is already being used. That's where you need to make sure you're sure you want to do this, because it will take all that data and merge them into one account now. So be careful of doing some of these things when you're working with the chart of accounts. If the client has been using this for several years now, and you'll see now when I scroll down here to advertising in my expenses, I just now have the one. The advertising and promotional has been merged into it, and I can click to include inactive if I want to. But be careful of that, because you will change your prior year numbers. So if you're merging accounts and changing things like that, you have to be careful of prior year impact. But you can see here now it says deleted. The advertising account has been deleted. Deleted and inactive are kind of the same thing here in QBO. It calls it the same thing. When you delete it or make it inactive, if I wanted to make that one active again, I could open or edit it. See down here at the bottom where it says inactive, I could check that box to make it active again. So you can delete things or make them inactive. Then you can also reactivate them. So that's a few things. And that's true with your customers, with your vendors or suppliers. It's true on all of them. You can clean up the list by merging things. You can make things inactive as well. So that's a few things to keep in mind just on cleaning up the list for the client. One other thing that we discussed in the converting webinar that I did last week on converting from the desktop to QBO, all of the inactive customers and vendors and things like that, they're going to be active. When you convert from the desktop to QBO, it makes them all active again. So you need to do some cleanup work before you convert. And I did a webinar on that last week. You can access the recording at intuitacademy.com or on my YouTube channel. So you might want to do some cleanup work before you even get it into QBO. Now, when we're talking about deleting these accounts, what if I deleted a balance sheet account that had a balance? Let's say I went into like tools and equipment and I deleted that account and it had a balance, because your clients will do this. They'll be like, oh, I don't need that anymore. And they don't understand the concept of writing it off. You know, like let's say it's an asset that they don't have anymore. They just want to go in and delete it. But they don't understand about writing it off. So if they delete a balance sheet account or make it inactive, QuickBooks Online will say, you know, we've got a balance here. We need to do something with this. So it will make a journal entry and post it to opening balance equity. And then you can't go in and fix it because it's inactive. So in order to fix it, what you have to do is make it active again. Go in, edit or delete it as needed, and then go in and delete the account again. Let me go in and show you, because it's kind of confusing to understand. So let's look at this. We've got tools and equipment in here somewhere. Where did my tools and equipment go? Okay, maybe I already lost it. Oh, I'm in the liabilities. I need to go up here to the equity. All right, so up here I've got other current assets. I've got tools and equipment. See how it says it's been deleted? So if I had a transaction there and I wanted to try to go in and edit or change that transaction, which I happen to have under a test vendor here. See, this expense was to the tools and equipment account. Well, let's say I want to try to change that to any other account. It says I can't because that account has been deleted. So I can't make any changes or corrections or fix it or anything like that until I go back into my chart of accounts and make it active again. So I would come into the chart of accounts, go into my tools. Where did it go? I lost it again. Tools. I am having a hard time seeing these today. Oh, I got to see inactive. Tools and equipment, deleted. So I would need to come in here, open this account, make it active again, save it, then I can go fix that transaction, whatever I need to do. Instead of letting QuickBooks make the journal entry to write it off to opening equity, I would probably want to go in there and write it off myself, but I can't do any entries when it's inactive or deleted. So reactivate it, go in, do the work that you need to do to write that asset off, to get it out of the opening equity, and then go back and delete that account again. Okay, so basically make it active again, go in, fix what you need to fix, and then you can delete it again or write it off properly. Okay? All right, so somebody says, why is it at zero despite a $5,000 transaction? Helena, when I make it inactive, let me go in and show you. Let's go into opening balance equity. Opening balance equity. Let's go into the register. What happens is when I take an asset and I delete it or make it inactive, it has to do something with that balance. So because I'm saying take this asset off my books, but I'm not telling it what to do. So QuickBooks Online makes a journal entry. You'll see here, created by QBO to adjust the balance for deletion. And so it's taking it off the tools and equipment to opening equity. And that's what I'm saying. If it's an asset that they got rid of, you need to go in and do the journal entry to write off the asset, the accumulated depreciation, and all that stuff. So make it active again so you can go in then and get rid. You'll want to delete this journal entry and go in and make the entries that you need to. Okay? Stephanie's asking how do deleted accounts show up on the P&L. Okay, so if they delete a P&L account or an income or expense account, then when you create the profit and loss, it will show the account name with deleted in parentheses. So it's still there. But with a balance sheet account, it makes this journal entry to opening equity. And that's why I'm saying this is one of the mistakes that you need to know about. So if and when you come across this, you know how to fix it. Okay? All right. And go in there and play with that a little bit. I don't remember if I showed you this, but let me just show you this. In QBO, I'm in QuickBooks Online Accountant. Over here on the little question mark in the very upper right corner, go into the sample company and play with it. See how these things work. Run through some of these scenarios. Do a test, and then take a look and see, what it did and what the impact is. And that gives you a place to practice and work with some of these things without impacting your company file. Now let's talk about another situation, and this is my favorite tool in the whole world. I just love this. Reclassify Transaction. This is awesome. It's our secret weapon. It lets us find and fix errors quickly and efficiently. So we can reclassify transactions in bulk. We can also assign a class. Let's say all of a sudden the client decides, you know what, I want to start class tracking. We can go back and assign a class to transactions in bulk. Now, when we do things in Reclassify Transactions, it's not prompting us for a closing date. So you can change prior year, and it's assuming because you're the accountant using this tool that you know what you're doing. So be careful of that. Now, with the Reclassify Transactions, we can't clean up items. So you might have a client that says, I've entered all these invoices, and it went to XYZ income account, but I really want it to go to a different income account. So I will show you how you can do that in bulk. And when we do this, we're going into the products and services list, and we're changing the account there. And it will prompt you if there's a closing date set. It will prompt you. So let's go into QBO, and let's look at some of these things. So if I'm in QBO, and I'm over here, I've logged in through QBO-A, so I have access to these accountant tools, my Reclassify Transaction. So I can come in here and click on the Reclassify Transaction, and I can come in here, and I've already got mine set to January 2013 through, let's make this through T for today. So because I've got some stuff I uploaded from last year. I could come in here and review some things. For example, as I look at cost of goods sold, Wow, I see some stuff from Office Works up there. That doesn't seem right. If I click on Office Supplies, I have a lot of Office Works here too. Maybe this cost of goods sold, I need to move this. So I can tick or check the ones that I want to move. Let's say I wanted to do all of them. I could click all of them. Now the old way of fixing this would be open up this transaction, go in there, change the account, save and close. Go open the next one, change the account, save and close. But watch, I can reclassify all three of these. Let's put it to a different account. Down here under account, let's put it to that advertising account so you can clearly see it. When I click reclassify, boom. Now if I come over here under advertising, it did all three of those at one time for me. How cool is that? I absolutely love the Reclassify Transaction. It's so cool. So you can look at things, you know, your profit and loss accounts, your balance sheet accounts. You can look at whatever it is you're looking for. You can come in here, review the activity, see how it looks, and go in and make changes in bulk. Now, I don't have classes turned on, but if I did have classes turned on, down here in the bottom right corner, under Change Account, I would also have right below that a box for Change the Class to, and I could assign a class in bulk. So use this tool to go through here, review the activity that's in the client file, looking for things that might need to be changed, you know, going through and seeing, oh, here's another Office Works that needs to go to Office Supplies. Tick on the ones that need change it to where you want it to go to, and quick and easy, you can clean up lots of transactions. This is particularly helpful when the client put a bunch of stuff to the wrong account. You don't have to go in one by one. Now, I mentioned that it's not item-based. Let's say they entered a bunch of invoices, and the invoices, they say, oh, this is going to the wrong income account. I want it to go somewhere else. So in that situation, what you need to do is go into your products and services list. So let's go into the products and services. Instead of the items list, it's called the products and services list in QBO. Let's say I wanted to change something. I know I've used framing labor quite a bit. So on this framing labor account, let's say I want to change it, and instead of construction labor, I want that to go to, let me scroll down, pick another income account. I want it to go to services. Notice once I change that account, now I see this. This wasn't here a while ago. Okay, let me show you that again. When I double click on framing, I don't see anything here. But once I choose a different income account, what was I going to put it to? Services. I see also update this account in historical transactions. This will change prior years. It will prompt you if there's a password set. But this will allow you, like this one lady who just started, you know, back in January, it allows me to go through and fix everything for the whole year in one fell swoop. So I can say save, and it'll go through and make all those changes for me. So for items or products and services where you want to change the account mapping, you can do that. Again, be careful of prior years because it can and will change prior years. So you just need to be careful of that. Susan is asking, the reclassify, will it work for the location feature too? No, it does not. It works for this reclassify, it works for classes and accounts. It does not work for location. Is the Reclassify Transactions only available under the accountant's version? Yes. You must be logged in through QBOA. So I logged in through QBOA, and you can tell you're in accountants because over here I have the accountant tab on the left navigation bar. When I'm logged in as the accountant, I have access to that Reclassify Transactions tool, as well as the ability to write off invoices, undo bank recs, and things like that. Okay? Mary's asking, what if you don't want to change the prior year, only current year? That's a problem because it will prompt you to say there's a closing date password, but it doesn't give you the option to say as of what date, and I wish it did. So you can help me to request that feature. If you click on the gear feedback, click on the gear in the upper right corner and feedback, and tell Intuit that when we do reclassify transactions or when we do changing account mappings in the products and services, that we'd like the option to be as of what date. So as of the beginning of the year, leave prior years alone. That would be great. Okay, so somebody says, I am using QBOA. QBOA is for the accountants. We sign up for QBOA, and the way that you get your clients to show up on your QBOA dashboard here is the client invites you as the accountant user. Okay, the client invites you as the accountant's user. So to get into QBOA, you just log into qboa.intuit.com. And you know what? I'm not going to answer a ton of questions on QBOA because there's a whole separate webinar on QBOA. If you go to intuitacademy.com, they cover that in a 1-hour webinar on QBOA. So I would encourage you to check that out as well. Okay? All right, so we talked about some of the reclassify transaction stuff. Okay, it's time for our CPE keyword. The CPE keyword is vote. Vote, vote, vote. If you're doing email or Facebook or not paying attention, now's the time to write down vote. B-O-A-T. And that is a picture of our boat out at the lake. Some friend took it while we were out and about on the water, so that is a boat, a picture of our red racer boat. Okay, so write down the CPE keyword, vote, vote, vote. All righty, so I'm kind of looking through. Can we limit the reclassify to a current year? No, we can't. I just answered that one. We need to request that in the feedback area. Okay, very good questions that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So write down vote, keyword vote, B-O-A-T. All right, so hopefully you got that keyword there because we still have some important mistakes to talk about, okay? This is where, you know, I talked about the most common mistakes. This is where you're going to get a lot of problems, is the downloaded transactions. And that's why I wanted to spend a lot of time on this topic, because this is where the most common mistakes are. You get this a lot, okay? The first one, the account type must be a bank or a credit card. People will download and set this up, and I'm not sure how they do it, but they do. But they're setting it up, and they're trying to do these transactions, and it's an other liability account. Like instead of a credit card account, it's an other liability account. Or maybe they set up their savings account as another current asset account. So it must be a bank or a credit card, and I will show you this in just a minute. Another thing that we get into lots of problems with, and I just had a client that did this. So she was trying to do, you know, like our shoebox clients. You know, she went and got a whole year of transactions that she was able to upload, all but, you know, a month or two she missed. Anyway, she had the auto apply turned on, and she has a lot of invoices that are the same amounts and stuff. So the auto apply, and then she went through and accepted and matched a whole bunch of things when they didn't match the right invoices, and she just kind of created all kinds of problems. And she's like, oh my gosh, now my accounts receivable is a mess. How do I fix all this? So I'm going to show you how you can go in and fix all that and stuff like that. But that's one of the things you're going to want to do when you're working with historical transactions. If you're doing a whole year's worth of work or cleanup work, things like that, you probably want to turn off the auto apply, where it automatically applies payments to an invoice or credits to an invoice. You may want to control that when you're doing the history. Now, once you get caught up, then you may want to turn that back on. But that's something to take into consideration. Then the other thing that happens frequently is your client gets all excited, and they set it up without you, and they go in and they hook up the bank account. So they convert it from the desktop. Conversion went great. It's really easy, right? They didn't pay attention to the details. They didn't realize some things. They didn't realize that when they turn on and they set up their bank account, it downloads now the last 90 days of transactions. So they got through and they accept all these transactions, think everything's wonderful. The problem is a lot of those transactions were already in there before they converted the file. So now we have lots of duplicates. So you've got to pay attention. The devil's in the details. And so this is where it can create a lot of messes. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I just did 500 transactions. How do I fix this? This is where I want to share with you some tools and some things on where to do some of this. So let's go into QBO. Okay, the first thing that we talked about was the wrong account type. So I'm going to go into the banking activity, and I'm sorry, I'll quit using this shortcut bar. Under transactions and banking, this is where you go into your downloaded transactions in your banking area. So over here, I've set up Visa as the wrong account. Let me show you. On my chart of accounts, I'm going to show you that I have Visa is an other liability. So down here, other current liabilities, see I have Visa set up. It let me set it up for online. The little two-directional thing here means online, but it needs to be a credit card type of account. Or up here, like this savings account, if it were an other current asset, you need to have bank accounts or credit card accounts. So if you're setting up PayPal, if you're setting up Etsy or other things, you need to set them up as bank accounts, okay, not other current assets. So what happens is I've got this set up as other current liability. So this is a common problem that we see people coming in, and let's say here's my Amazon. I want to save it to office supplies. I click Add, and I get a message. It says you have to select a different type of account. Well, okay, let me try advertising. Add. No. And everybody's like, what the heck? I know advertising is an expense account. Why is this not working? Why can't I put it to office supply and click Add? I don't understand. It doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because Visa is not a credit card type of account. It's an other current liability. It's not going to work. You're going to have to delete this and set up the correct account and then re-import things. It's not going to work, okay? So that's one thing. It needs to be a bank or it needs to be a credit card account. So those are two very important things to keep in mind. Now let me peek. I can't remember what my second one was. Okay, the auto-apply historical transaction. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one. I must say, I apologize. I've had some back pains, back issues. So I'm taking painkillers. Okay, so under the settings, somebody asked about where do we turn off the auto apply? Under our settings. So if we go to settings, up here under the products and services, where we're receiving money, where is that? Auto apply credits. See the auto apply credits? You'll probably want to uncheck that. So again, it was under your products and services, and then I scroll down a little bit and you'll see auto apply, especially when you're doing that historical transactions, okay? So that's something to be aware of. Now, remember we mentioned somebody who downloaded and they imported a bunch of things and then they realized they had lots of duplicates? So on this account, let's do this one. On this account, I went ahead and accepted everything and I reconciled, and now I realized, whoops, I have lots of duplicates. If you notice here, we have separate tabs. We have the new transactions in QuickBooks. These are things that I recorded, and then we have the excluded tab, okay? So in QuickBooks, this is where I went ahead and added or excluded or added a bunch of these. I can go through here, click on this. I could sort by date if I wanted to, and I could say, okay, all the stuff from October, let's just do all the October transactions. All of these transactions are already in there. I just didn't realize it because I got all excited and I have duplicates. So let me show you that again. If you click on the first and then hold down your shift key and click on the last, it will select all the ones in between. If you want to unselect everything, click on the box to choose everything and then click to unselect everything. Those are a few little shortcuts that save you a lot of time. So if I'm saying all of these are duplicates, what I want to do, I already posted them into QuickBooks. I don't have to go back into QuickBooks and delete 100 transactions. Now I know I've only got 4 here, but if there's a lot of transactions, click on Batch Actions, Undo. Now notice this says that I've dealt with all my transactions up here. I don't have any to deal with. Undo, and that will now move those 4 back over there. So I have back over here my new transactions to deal with. They're duplicates. I don't need them. Check the box, batch, exclude. Okay, so again, your client came in, they added a whole bunch of transactions, and they have lots of duplicates. Go into in QuickBooks, sort by date, find the dates, all the ones as of whatever date prior are duplicates. Select the first, select the last, so like let's say if I wanted to get everything through November 4th, and then undo. It will take them and unpost them, if you will, or delete them. Put them back over here as a downloaded transaction waiting for you to do something. I don't need them. They're duplicates. Select all, batch, exclude. Okay, so you can do these things in batch. You don't have to clean things up one at a time. And now over here under excluded, they're all still there. They are there if you need them. You don't have to do anything with them. They don't truly get deleted. And sometimes that's a good thing because I have a client who excluded a whole bunch of stuff and they shouldn't have. So again, I could do undo and it'll move them back over here to new transaction. Okay, so it doesn't actually delete them. It holds them out there for if and when you need them. Okay, so those are some things that are going to help you for cleaning some things up, is being able to go through and do some of that. So exclude those duplicates. Okay, so I hope that helps some. Now, the other transaction, or the other thing that we get into, and I see somebody says, what if you have petty cash or cash account? That needs to be set up as a bank account. If you want to download transactions, Helen, if you got petty cash or cash account, you may not be downloading transactions, so that doesn't matter that much. How do you empty the excluded? You can't actually empty or delete those excluded transactions. Okay, David's asking, where's auto apply and exclude? Okay, I think I just showed you that, so I hope that helps. Somebody said, how did you choose all of October? You select the first one, hold down your shift key, and select the last one. And that's where, we talk about things here, and then I'm going into QBO to show you some of these things. So let me just show you that again. All of these are excluded right now. Let's undo. We can move them all back over here to new transactions. And one of the things that I always do is I sort things by description when you are trying to add things into QuickBooks. And so I'll select the first one. I want to add all these office works. Select the first, hold down my shift key, click on the last one, and it will select all of those in between. So it will choose all of those in between there. And then I could do a batch categorize, like instead of office supplies, let's say I want to put them all to advertising. I can move them all to advertising. In batch, I can apply that category to all of them at one time, and I can then also accept all of them at one time. That will put them in QuickBooks. I just posted them. Okay, so I just posted them to QuickBooks. That's how you add things. So that's some of the batch actions for cleaning up things. So that's one of the things that's very helpful for add and batch, exclude, and undo. So you can undo and move these things around. You leave them in excluded. They sit out there. I undid them, so they're not there anymore, but they don't actually go away. So one of the things, too, to keep in mind is when, and this is where we need to work on training our clients, when your clients are in here entering things, and I've got it over here to this checking account. Let's do this one. When your client is in here entering things, they've downloaded this income here, and this is where they need to know the difference between add, match, or a transfer. So if I click on it to open it up, adding it adds a new transaction. That means there's not anything in there yet. Finding a match means I've already entered something in QuickBooks, and I want to match this transaction to it. So this is where you've got to slow down and think about the workflow and think about what you're doing and things. Let me go ahead and go back over here to this PowerPoint for a minute, because this is where we've got linked transactions where, and I want to explain it, and then I'll go in and show it to you. Okay, so we'll talk about it now. I'm going to go show it to you, and we'll talk about it some more. Linked transactions, your workflow. Okay, so we're talking about all these things kind of together. We already talked about undo, but we enter an invoice. We send that out to our client, and then our client pays us. So we invoice, and then the payment, it may come through as a deposit all by itself. If they paid with IPN, it's going to come through all by itself. Or if that check was deposited individually, it comes through as a deposit. You can match a deposit to an open invoice. However, if you have multiple payments that you need to group together, if you receive those checks, you have 3 checks from different customers that you need to group to make one deposit. You need to follow the workflow just like the desktop version where you're using undeposited funds. So in that situation, you'd have an invoice, you would receive the payment, then you make the deposit, then that deposit matches the QBO deposit that was downloaded. Okay? So you have to think about the workflow for the client, and it may be different for each client. You've got to think about how's the money coming in from the bank, what's going to show up on my bank statement, then you determine how to get it into QuickBooks. So linked transactions is something I'm going to show you how to find which payment this invoice is linked to or which deposit this payment went to and things like that. But then also, it's important to understand how things are recorded. Income from deposits, when you just take a deposit that came from the bank and you accept it and you post it to an income account, how it shows up differently in QBO and in reports versus when you enter a sales transaction like an invoice or a sales receipt. So let's go in. Let's talk about some of these things in QBO, and let's look at some of these things. Let's go into a customer over here, and I've got a customer up at the top here, so I can show you some different transactions. Now, I'm looking at all transactions right here for her, so I can see I've got some invoices and I have some payments and things like that. So let's click on an invoice to open this invoice, and I want to show you in the desktop version you can click on history to see how things are linked and what's associated with it. So in QBO, up here in the upper right, see how it says it's paid, and here's the payment. I can click on that payment, and it will show me which payment it is applied to, which one it's linked to. So here I see, okay, here's this payment. It was linked to this invoice. Where was this deposited? Up here? And I wish they would put this over here so they both were in the same place. That's been one of the feedback that I've sent in. You can help me with that. Click the gear, click send feedback. I think these should be on the same side. I don't know, one's on the right, one's on the left. But look in the two corners, okay? That's where then now I can see here's the deposit. Click on that link, and it will take me, and here's my deposit. And it shows me, you know, this was actually part of another one here where I grouped them together going through undeposited funds. So it shows you things that are linked together. The other thing is once a deposit has been matched to a downloaded transaction, up here you can undo individually if you need to. You'll be able to undo that. But that's how you can find things that are linked together, and you can go in and do that. Because if you needed to fix that payment, like if I want to go back to that payment I was just looking at, let's go back to the $600 payment here. Let's say that this was the wrong one, that this was supposed to have been deposited all by itself or something like that. If I wanted to try to change it and do something different, it'll say, wait a minute, it's already been deposited, and it's linked to some other things. Just like with the desktop version, you need to go in and edit the deposit before you can make changes to that payment. And there's a video where I show you how to do some of that stuff. Okay? Now, so that helps you to understand some of the linking and how these transactions are linked together and define what's linked to each other. The other thing that's real important to understand, let's go back into our banking activity, is the difference between how things are recorded. So here I have this deposit payment of $5,000. Let's put this to a brand new customer. Let's put this to a test customer number 3, because I think I already have a couple of them out there. So I'm going to put this to a customer, and it's a $5,000 deposit. See, this says it's coming through IPN, Intuit Payment Network. I can say I want this to go to my income account. I can choose which income account I want it to go to. Let's put it to services. So I've got a test customer going into services. Okay, so this is a deposit that came through the bank that I'm adding. I'm not matching. I'm just wanting to add it. When I click add, oh, let's go see that. I want to go see that in my customer center. Let's go look and see. Here's a test customer 3. No transactions. But wait, I just did that, right? Look, there's not deposits on here. Deposits aren't on here. Now watch this. If I go into my reports and I go, let's go look at my profit and loss. And let's make sure this covers through today. So I typed a T. That's one of your keyboard shortcuts. You can make it today. Here's my services income, $17,000. And here's my $5,000 that I just got. And it doesn't say third customer there, does it? Let's look at it. There's the $5,000. It's in income. And let's go look. And there it is. I've got it. I've posted it, but it's not showing up, is it? When I go look at, let's go look at another report. When you go look at the, let's go look at some of our sales reports. Let's go back to reports. And hold on. Sorry, I didn't mean that to come up again. Reports. If I go to, under my all reports, if you go look at sales, come on. All reports, go back to all reports, review sales. If I do sales by customer summary, I won't see it there. There's my second customer, and there's my third, and I do have through today. Let's go look if I do income by customer. So here's the difference. Sales, income. Sales comes from invoices and sales receipts. Here's income Let's make this through today, and now it's going to prove me a liar, and it's not going to show me. Whoops. Okay, now I got my dates messed up. Hold on, let's go back. All reports, income by customer, and it's not showing it to me. What did I do wrong? Don't you just hate it when you mess up in front of everybody and you guys are all watching? Okay, so that should have been out there. Let's go look at that transaction. Let's find it. Okay, so here's where you're going to learn how to use find. I can't do this. Normally I could click on this to see my recent transactions, and I would see that deposit that I just entered. I can't see that here because I've got this test file that has stuff in the future. So let's go under Find. This is a great way to teach you how to use search. I want to look for a deposit, and let's just do date today. Let's search, and it's not found. Did I not save that deposit? You guys are supposed to be keeping an eye on me. Did I not save that deposit? Let's go into our banking activity and do it again because maybe I didn't save it. Okay, I'm in here. It says I saved it. Let's look in QuickBooks. There's the deposit. And, oh, you know what? Did I not put the customer name there? I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. A customer. Save and close. So watch, I am saving this. Save and close. Okay. Let's go back into, I wanted to go into that report, see if it's there now. This is my bad. Income by customer. There it is. I just didn't put the name there. You guys are supposed to be keeping an eye on me. So income by customer, it shows up. So a deposit that I'm posting to a customer will show up on that income report. It does not show up on the sales report. The sales by customer summary, it's not there. It doesn't show up there. So your profit and loss, your income, your underlying accounting data is okay, but it's not going to show up in your customer center. When I come click on my customer and I want to see all my activity, it doesn't show me deposits there. It's in the income, but it's not showing up in these other things. So that's where we need to be aware of that. We need to let our clients know how important it is that they enter an invoice or enter a sales receipt. I was trying to get back in here, so that they see that information in their customer center, in their sales by customer reports, and things like that. They need to be entering that. Then when something comes through from the bank, they can click on Find Matching Transactions. I don't have any in that account. Let's go to this account. I have too many accounts out here now. They can go in and let's undo both of these, take them back over there. Undo. So I can show you how you can find. So in here, let's click on this one and find matching transactions. It will show you here's open invoices, and you can apply those to an invoice if you need to. Okay, so it's very important that the client understand if they just want to record that deposit directly into income, the impact that that's making on certain key reports. Okay, so does that make sense? I love the recent time clock. Yes, that clock up there normally works great, but because I uploaded Rockcastle and it's got transactions in the future, it's not showing me things that I'm entered today. It's going by the date. So that's kind of making up a mess there. All right. So hopefully that helped explain for you some of those key things there when it comes to recording some of these transactions. And this is a common mistake that the clients will make. They need to either enter an invoice or enter a sales receipt and then match it to the transaction. So you can click Find Matching Transactions, match it to those invoices, and in that way it will be showing up. So if they want it to show up in that customer center, they need to be entering an invoice or a sales receipt. Okay. Don't forget about using undeposited funds, just like you do in the desktop version. Think about what's showing up on the bank statement. You know, and then the other thing that I've had some people say is, I can't match, it won't match, I can't find it, what's the problem? You know what, if you can't match it to something, it's not the end of the world, you still can reconcile. So you still have that ability to go ahead and enter things manually and reconcile them. Now, speaking of reconcile, let's talk quickly about undoing the bank reconciliation, because this is not necessarily a common mistake, but it's a common thing that accountants don't know where to look. We look over here and we say, well, I don't see undo the bank rec. Michelle told me if I'm in QBOA, I can undo, but I don't see the link. Where do I do it? You come under reconcile, just like you're going to reconcile that bank account like normal or that credit card account. In here, Uh-oh, I haven't reconciled any of these. So let's reconcile really quickly. Just like the client, let's put in H for end of the month. See how my keyboard shortcuts work? Isn't that awesome? Let's go ahead and put in a service charge as a T for today. Put it to bank service charges. Now, so I went ahead and entered an interest there or service charge as you have it. In here, I could go ahead and let's just check off everything, pretend it's all cleared. And then let's finish now, and QBO will adjust it. Just like in the desktop version, it will fix it for me. Yay, I reconciled, right? Wrong. It just posted a big amount of reconciliation discrepancies. As accountants in QBOA, if you hover on the line, you see the undo out to the right of that. So point to that line, the oldest date that you want to. It will undo all of these reconciliations. But it's important to know it does not undo the service that I just posted. And it also does not undo this adjustment where they force that bank reconciliation to reconciliation discrepancies. Click on that, go down to that transaction and delete that transaction. It won't undo that transaction. But that's how you undo the bank rec, is by clicking out there. And you could do as old as you wanted. So you could do 3 months at a time if you wanted to. Click on OK. And then it says, note, it's not going to be removing these things. Okay, so it's not going to undo those things. Let's go double check to see if they took off that, because I've been hoping that they would get it to undo that reconciliation discrepancies. Let's go see if it took it off yet. I don't think it is. It did. Yay. No, wait. Let's wait. Got to check our dates. Go through today. And it did take it off. It's not there anymore. So that's good news. So it does undo the reconciliation discrepancies. It's not undoing. Here's that $14 bank service charge. So the service charge is still there. So that's something to be aware of. It'll leave that in your interest income. Okay, let me go ahead, and I will take some more questions in just a minute. But downloading transactions and dealing with that, that's where the bulk of the mistakes are coming from, because it's new to people, and they don't understand all of that. Okay, so work with the sample company file. You can upload some transactions to the sample file. You can use the ones that are in there already. Play with it. But the mistakes that people make, a lot of times you fix things the same way that you do with the desktop version. If you have a mistake, I tried to cover things that were different, that were unusual, and as well as a common mistake. When you have a mistake, use the help in the upper right corner or Google your question. Google it. A lot of times you'll find a blog post or a YouTube video that tells you how to fix those things. Also, in my LinkedIn group, as well as the Intuit community forums, those are a great place to post questions when you have a question about how do I fix this or how do I do that. Hopefully this gave you a good start on some of this, but you're probably going to come across some stuff that you don't know how to fix. Now, I also want to encourage you, and I'll answer some questions here in just a minute, but I want to encourage you to join me for the Appify the Processes webinars. We're going to be talking about apps that will integrate with QBO and QB Desktop, apps that are going to make your life a lot easier, your client's life a lot easier. Tomorrow I'm doing Discover the Power of the Apps for Small Businesses with the Intuit App Center. I have Cindy Lee from Intuit who's going to be joining me, so you can learn about the Intuit App Center, the process that Intuit does to review those and approve them and get them in there, discounts and specials for Pro Advisor members and things like that. But every week we've got a different app that we're covering. I really encourage you to join me for these webinars. It's going to be a lot of great information that will help you and help your clients, and it helps you to grow your practice. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to ask Donna to put that link in the little chat room so you can register for the webinar tomorrow. After attending this, okay, so we talked about the best practices. Remember to take some of those things into consideration before you get in there and start cleaning things up, run some reports to PDF, things like that. We talked about how to fix common mistakes, different scenarios, what causes them, and then how to fix them as well as some additional resources for help. So those of you that need the CPE keyword, I'm going to go ahead and put this CPE keyword poll up here. So let me launch that poll. You need to answer this question, and then I will answer some of your questions. But I wanted to make sure we got the CPE in before the top of the hour, because I know some people have a hard stop that they need to leave. What app is tomorrow? Tomorrow is the Intuit App Center. We're going to be talking about the whole process of how apps get in there. We'll also be talking about, for you as an accounting professional, how do you do a needs assessment with your client? What do you ask them about? How do you do training, testing, and implementing the apps, things like that, some best practices, discounts and things that are available for Pro Advisor members. So tomorrow's kind of the general intro. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the QB apps, the apps that are available for QBO and the QB desktop, and how some of those work. So I encourage you to join me. Love to have you join me for that tomorrow. Please register. Okay, I've downloaded transactions and added them to the accounts for the last quarter. I haven't reconciled. I have yet to reconcile. How will that impact the QBO account? Antonio, it's no big deal. What you need to do is you've downloaded all the accounts and posted them and stuff. Now go back and do 1 month at a time and reconcile each month as you go along. That ensures that you got everything in there. You don't have any duplicates, things like that. So go ahead and just reconcile 1 month at a time. Where is the link for tomorrow's webinar? I think I was hopeful that she was going to, Donna would put that in there, but let me get the link and I will put that in there for you.
No,
Donna
folks,
may have had to run.
Michelle, I did post it. It's in a chat message to everyone.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Donna Fox. Okay, so you guys answering that poll question? I hope you guys are all answering that poll question. Only 84% of you have voted. If you need the CPE keyword, now's the time to answer that poll question. So if you need the CPE keyword, I'm going to give you about another minute. Okay, let's see. Let's see what other questions we have that I can answer. Somebody said they're trying to download the materials. Look back through the chat log. Donna posted a link to the materials. How do you print out the audit log? Oh, okay. Somebody wants to know about the audit log. And I'll tell you what, the audit log is awesome. Let me go ahead and go back into QBO, show you how to access that and stuff. Only 85%, 86% voted. This is last call, CPE, last call. Enter your CPE keyword, last call. If you want it CPE, answer the polling question now. I'm going to cut it off. I saw one more person answer. Come on, answer the polling question. Going. You guys got about 10 more seconds to answer the CPE poll question. If you've been multitasking, answer the CPE keyword. Come on. All right, it's been 3 minutes. Nobody else is answering. I'm going to close that poll now. All right. Okay, so I left it up there for 3 minutes. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Whoops, there we go. Okay. All right, back into QBO. Let's see, you guys should be seeing my QBO screen. There you go. Okay, so under the gear, when you click on Audit Log, this will show you Audit Log. And this is where you can, oh, I just love this. This is so much better than the desktop. Because not only will it show you added a transaction or edited or unmatched or deleted, it also shows you when you add an account. If you reconcile an account, it will show you list changes. It will show you when you sign in, when you sign out. It shows everything. And this is what's really cool. Like on this deposit where it says I edited it, let's go view that. Remember when I went in and changed the customer? See, it highlights what I did. I added the name, A-Test Customer 3. I even up here in the upper right corner can click on Compare, and it will show what it was before and what it was after. So I had nothing here before, and now I have the name after. So the audit log is amazing in this QBO. I love it. If you want to filter for yourself for today, all the work that you did today, show everything, or you can filter by just these certain things. But you can filter and look for things by user, by transaction, so you can choose all of this how you want to do it. It's a really powerful log. When you want to print it, over here in the upper right corner is the print button. Also, you can see more transactions when you click the little gear right here. So here's your print, and I really didn't mean to print that. I don't want to print it, so let's cancel. That's what it would look like. I don't want to print it. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. Somebody else says their demo is stuck on the P&L. I'm sorry you're having that problem, but I think a lot of people were able to see that little demo. It was recorded, so hopefully you can see that. Okay, this was recorded, so you guys can watch it and go through it again. We are at the top of the hour, so those of you that need to leave, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate your feedback. Make sure that you fill out that survey. Those of you that can hang around for another minute or two, I'll go ahead and answer a couple of other questions. But I want to thank you for joining me today. Sign up for my blog, subscribe to it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I keep putting more things out there, so I appreciate that. I will answer a couple more questions as we have a few more minutes. But those of you that are done, make sure you fill out that survey. We appreciate you joining me today. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for the webinar tomorrow. So that would be awesome. Now, let me go ahead and look. I'll answer a couple more quick questions here and see if we got anything. Any recommendation for posting a bill for different locations? Okay, so Robin, you've discovered, yes, classes. So the difference, one of the differences between class and location is with location, you can only assign the transaction to one location. You can't do like line by line. So she's already using classes for events, and she's discovered that bill only allows for one location. You're right, Robin. You may have to change how they're doing some things. And so you may have to change and start doing classes instead of locations. So that's something to kind of think about. Okay, so somebody says, can you change a transaction that QBO identified as a transfer? Uncheck the box that says this is a transfer. Neil, so uncheck the box that says this is a transfer. So open it up, uncheck that this is a transfer, and then you can make some changes to that. Somebody says working on this and they want to reconcile. Any way that you can do it without doing it manually. Trying to reconcile, the account didn't transfer over. I'm not sure what your problem is there, Rose, without knowing more details. You do, when you're first setting up QuickBooks Online, you need to enter the beginning balance. So you do need to put that beginning balance in there for the account. And you do need to take into consideration outstanding checks that are going to clear and come through. You may need to exclude those. If they were already taken out of your opening balance, you'll want to exclude those outstanding checks when they come through. You don't have to add everything. You can exclude things if you need to. So I hope that helps a little bit. Somebody says, when creating an invoice, it requires an email address. It doesn't. You don't have to do an email address. In the invoice window, when you're doing an invoice down in the bottom right corner, you can use this keyboard shortcut for save and close, or save and send, or save and new. So if it says save and send, just click on this upside down arrow right here, or use the keyboard shortcuts. Like save and new is Control-Alt-S. Save and close, I believe, is Control-Alt-V. But you don't have to have an email address in there. You just need to choose the right one down here. If you say save and send, then you have to have an email address in there. Very good. Okay. How do you create shortcuts up on the top? Mark, in the materials, there's a link. I have a YouTube video on navigating tips and tricks that shows you how to create my OneClick Icon Bar up there. I absolutely love it. And this will work in multiple company files when you are working with different clients, so that's great. All right, let's see if we have a couple more questions that I can answer here. Oh, Joe, thank you. Joe says, thanks, Michelle. Great as always. Nice to hear your voice. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for joining me. Just received my certification. It's overwhelming. Any advice? It is kind of overwhelming at first because there's so much material. So yes, I do encourage you guys, join the Cloud Pro Advisor program. It is free. So if you're not a Pro Advisor already, you can go to proadvisor.intuit.com, join the Cloud Pro Advisor program. You can get certified at QBO, and then it is kind of overwhelming. So one of the things I highly recommend, I need to be QBOA, go into QBOA, so log into QBOA, go into that sample company file and play around. That's the best way that you're going to get a lot more practice. And if you want even more practice, go to Amazon and look for QuickBooks Online Practice Set. And my son and I have a practice set out there that gives you more practice and will help you to get more experience working with QBO. Okay? Great information. Okay. Invoice added after and not linked to an estimate. Can this be corrected? No, Chris. Unfortunately, I don't think you can do that. I'm pretty sure that if you're not going to be able to link it to the estimate. So what you could do is try duplicating that invoice. If you've got an invoice opened, I don't know if this would work or not. I'd have to try it. But if you have an invoice open the invoice And down here, click on more, well, I don't know, copy it. And then it may tell you that there's an estimate that exists. Go ahead and try that out and see if that'll work for you. I'm not sure if it will or not. That's the best way to learn something, though, is to try it. Thank you, Lori. She says, this was an excellent webinar. Thank you. Very good. Time for dinner in Florence. Oh, Keith, I'm so jealous. Tell me you want me over in Italy for training. Have searched everywhere. Can you tell me where to look to find how to reflect a personal loan to the business? Andre, it's going to depend on what type of entity the business is. Are you a sole proprietor or are you a corporation? If you're a corporation, due to shareholder. If you're a sole proprietor, it's an owner's contribution and equity account. Very good. Lynn, that's awesome. She says, thanks, Michelle, so helpful. I hired to help a QBO client last October who was already 6 months behind. Wish I'd known these tricks before. Well, Lynn, I'm glad you learned them now. Hopefully it will help you in the future as you're doing some of these. All right, you guys did. It's been a fabulous webinar. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Again, please register for all of the Appify webinar series, but especially join me for tomorrow's, where I'm going to be joining Intuit, and we're going to be talking about Appify the processes. I guarantee you they'll all have great information. So please register for those, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me.